Last year, Rob did over $30 million in sales on Amazon and over $4 million in profit, selling just a handful of products. And in this video, we're going to talk about exactly how much he made in revenue and profit every single year growing this business. We're also going to tell you every single product that he sells on Amazon and talk about one mistake he made that cost him over $25,000 and almost completely bankrupt the business. And at the end of the video, I have a big secret about performance nut butter that I'm going to announce. Hit the like button because Rob has been nice enough to be letting me stay at his multi-million-dollar mansion, and we were supposed to record this video on a yacht that we rented yesterday, a $1.3 million yacht a friend of his owns. We were going to record the video there, but instead we're recording it right now. So hit the like button and let's get started with what are the products that you sell on Amazon and how did you get started in this?
Yeah, so I think we're best known for nootropics. The Genius brand was kind of my, that's my primary creation. I fell into Amazon, super lucky, kind of dumb luck 6 years ago, and saw an opportunity.
And how much did it cost for you to start this business, your first production run?
Genius is a crazy story because the first production run, it was like $3,000, like hardly had any money and was actually able to squeeze 2 products out of that. I cut kind of a deal with a co-manufacturer who later helped me out down the road. But yeah, I was able to start the business for $3,000.
And what were your first 2 products?
Genius Caffeine and Genius Burn. And at the time, I saw an opportunity. Fat burners it's kind of like a funny category to go into, but everyone was selling like really kind of trash, scammy, high caffeine, diet pills. And I was like, well, what would a product that actually benefited weight loss look like? And, so put together this ridiculous formula, right? And at the time, everyone was selling for like $20, $30. And I remember putting that thing together and it almost cost me $20 to make. And I was like, oh, no wonder everybody thinks weight loss products don't work. So put this together and then I actually pulled the caffeine out of it. So there was no caffeine in Genius Burn. And that was really intentional because I wanted to, just show that you don't need high stimulants to make a difference. And then, actually decided to stack that with, the other launch, which was Genius Caffeine. And that was extended release caffeine. It was another premium product, didn't give you the jitters. And recommended users taking those together. So those were the first 2 products, and really had no idea if it was going to work. Right, a $50 fat burner in an industry with $20, $30 products. But at the end of the day, I just kind of thought, what would a customer want? And lo and behold, it's still around 5 years later, plugging along.
One thing that's really impressive about Rob's story is he has a lot of passion for the supplement space. He knows a lot about this, and I think this is one of the things that's made him so successful. And in fact, in his first year, you want to talk about how much money you did, revenue and profit? Let's break it down.
Yeah. First year I think was not, it was cool. It was with $300,000. I think we made,
which is pretty great for most people, but obviously Rob has a high bar.
Yeah. No, so first year, $300,000. I think we made 20 or 30 grand, something like that. And then, next year we 10X. So we got to 3 million, kind of hit growth mode. From there, I was able to, I mentioned the contract manufacturer was really awesome and did a lot for me. Well, from there, I actually cut another deal with them. And long story short, basically they extended pretty aggressive terms where I could launch whatever I wanted. So I got super aggressive. We went from 10 to damn near 30. And that was like this huge jump. And we were just launch, super aggressive. We're fortunate enough to get some of the trends with, the brand was positioned towards biohacking and longevity and the market forces tended to go that way. So we caught that with, really leveraging the Amazon side of things. And, we feel really fortunate for the brand to be in the position it is.
And I know in year 2, you launched a bunch of new products. What were some of the new products you launched?
So, the one that really put us on the map, and I'm getting ahead of myself. I should touch on the other 2 that kind of springboarded cash and did well. But the first one that really blew up and I feel like kind of started to define the Genius brand was Genius Joy. And that was another one. I can't stress it enough. I always set out with these things with the customer in mind and trying to solve a problem, like an entrepreneurial approach to a problem. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I remember reading research on SSRIs and, just how basically doctors were passing them out like candy. And basically the whole world is, prescribed these, antidepressant medications and all sorts of negative things come with that. So I was like, if I can make some sort of dent in this whole situation, maybe I can bring a natural product to market, obviously market it right. But again, load something up, make it ultra effective and give the customer an alternative, someone that might be struggling with, anxiety, depression, like things that we all tend to battle in today's society, give them an alternative to what the doctors are prescribing. So that's where Genius Joy came from. And it was a huge hit. I get questions about that all the time. And it's like, how are you able to sell a $60 product on Amazon, in those categories? And it was like, I never thought about it that way. I just wanted to solve a problem, and Amazon was the vehicle to help get it to people. You know, that one was special. It was definitely the start of the real birth of the brand, so to speak.
Is that the main driver that allowed you to 10x, go from $300,000 to $3 million by year 2? Was that those new products?
Yeah, it definitely was, because Joy was towards the end of that. And, you know, I mean, it really refined the approach. I mean, that was kind of one where it was like, okay, there were nootropics in that. There was this cognitive element. It was like, all right, this makes sense. This is the angle to kind of approach this thing. And truthfully, we would have been way further along in 2018. But I mentioned to you, we had that crazy review wipe situation, right? So I think we went to 10 million in year 2. But half of that year was
year 3, right? 10
or
million?
year 3, sorry.
Yeah.
But you know, half of that year we were wiped out. Some of our main products they went to 0 reviews. The revenue dried up. We were losing like 300,000. We were off like 300,000 of our run rate for 6 months. Yeah. So, you know, that's another $2 million or whatever.
This is another important thing about entrepreneur journey. There's always these high highs and there's always some issues. From the outside, it seems like it's smooth sailing, but it seems like it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride.
Oh, we were talking about this. I mean, there were times, so many times. And if you zoom way out, it's like, this looks awesome, right? You went on this awesome trajectory. You built a really cool business. And that's how it happened. And there was a sticking to the game plan. But if you were in the minute details, or you talked to some of the partners on these businesses that I built them with, they'll tell you a totally different story. I mean, there were days where, you know, we thought the world was ending, and you know, those are lessons learned from an young entrepreneur. It's like, try not to attach yourself and your own self-worth to the business and to the numbers, right? So kind of try to zoom out and keep playing that long game, make strong decisions, keep the customer at the center. And ultimately, you know, that's the best chance you have at setting yourself up for success.
And there's some more really big problems that are going to occur and some really big lessons to learn. And speaking of that, let's talk about year 3. And in year 3, you went from $3 million to $10 million in revenue and $2 million in profit. How did you do that? And was there any issues in year 3?
Yeah, you know, a huge part of that was Joy taking off, and we had a couple other products starting to mature. We kept launching. There were huge issues in year 3 though. 2018. This is when I thought we were going to go out of business. A lot of people did. It was actually the funny story. I was at first time away from the business, 3 years in, right? I was like, I'm obsessive. I stare at the computer all day. I work. It's what I do. And I got married that year. So we went to Ireland, out of the country. My first time out of the country, actually. I mean, I was really locked in. I didn't travel or anything like that. And of course, first time I stepped away from the business, I remember we got married on a Saturday. And then that Tuesday, I believe, like 2 days later, we're still in Ireland. We're going to be there for another week. I remember taking out my phone and looking at our pre-workout. And it was like 400 reviews. It had like 1,400 reviews when I left. And when I checked it, it was at 1,000. I remember refreshing the page. It dropped to another 20. Refreshed it, 20 minutes later, another 30. And long story short, over the next 12 hours, Amazon proceeded to wipe pre-workout, diet pills, and BCAAs all the way down to 0 reviews. And then they locked it. So they took it to 0, locked the product, and we could no longer get reviews. And that was like, $100,000 of monthly revenue right there, just gone. So you can imagine how I'm feeling, sitting in a hotel room in Guggenbara, Ireland, really thinking my world's ending. At this point, I got employees, I got people depending on me, and I'm just watching my products melt down. If that wasn't bad enough, the following Tuesday, I actually got back, another 2 products got hit. And then the following week, another 2 products got hit. And long story short, like I said, we ended up being like 300 to 400,000 in top line revenue, just gone. And if you don't think that messes with you psychologically, well, I pray you never have to go through it. But the point is, intense things happen. And what we did with that was, while the world's melting down, we could have picked up shop, got defensive, started laying people off. And I said, no way. We got to look at this as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And because we weren't the only ones that started getting hit midway through this. I saw other people, it was Amazon running bots, right? So mass bots spreading across the platform, highlighting ASINs for whatever reason and wiping them to 0. So we got aggressive. We ended up, again, the co-manufacturer came through. We launched 4 new products. It was Genius Consciousness, Genius Sleep Aid, Genius Estrogen, and Genius Mushrooms. And if you are an Amazon supplement shopper, you know those products and they've done very well. And those were born at like peak adversity. Mm-hmm. And at the time, they really kind of held us in business. Like, they all did really strong. We were pretty aggressive on the launches. We burnt a lot of profit, right? We doubled down. We could have shut down and at that point, we were probably a couple million in revenue and, a couple $100,000 in profit, right? We weren't like crazy numbers, and we decided to throw it back in the business and just go until we couldn't anymore. And long story short, we weathered the storm. Those ended up being very successful launches. And then in October, so almost 6 months later, we wake up one day and all of our reviews are back. And I mean, it was like crazy. So basically the business, we had built basically an entirely new business. And then we basically got the old business back. So that's kind of where the extreme growth came in year 4. We had like the whole business back together. We were firing on all cylinders. And, but boy, you talk about ups and downs like that. It was very intense.
And year 4, I think you said, was $30 million. And I want to reiterate, in almost every single successful entrepreneur story I've seen, at the worst case scenario, like everything that's hitting the fan, all the bad things are happening, that's when something really good ends up happening. It ends up skyrocketing the business. And we saw everything falling apart with Rob here, but that gave him the insights to create this new product. And at the end, everything ended up working out. You ended up getting all your reviews back. And that doesn't always happen, but it's being able to push through those hard moments that ended up leading to you having $30 million in revenue. I think $2 million in profit in year 4, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Like we weathered that. And then I remember that January came around because January is a big time for nutrition. And it was like, a rocket ship. I mean, it really was. That was the time when Amazon started gaining a lot more, relevance in the eyes of like institutional investors and real money. We started getting private equity firms coming out of the woodworks to try to get in contact and talk about the business. And, so much of that too ties back to the team. Like we had a really good crew that was locked in and everyone was committed to weathering the storm. And, that's what it takes at the end of the day. I really think that's what it takes.
And what else in year 4 did you do to be able to hit $30 million in sales? Because going from 10 million to 30 million is a big jump.
I mean, you see the profit number there too, right? It was pretty low. Yeah. And a lot of that was because, from a branding, aspect, I mean, we spent a lot of money on marketing. I mean, like a lot. Cranking Amazon PPC, trying to buy as much market share as possible. We had really high subscribe and save metrics. So we cranked it. We were willing to spend money on the front end. We engaged like Facebook pretty aggressively. I was telling you that with really no insight on the actual returns, but just blindly driving people to Facebook. But, I mean, that was building the business in my head and maybe I could have been a little more profitable, and honestly more data driven. We talked about that. But at the end of the day, building the business and trying to buy market share and trying to get your name out there when you think you have an awesome product, you can justify that when you're profitable.
And more specifically, you were doing something that I think is genius, no pun intended. You were growing this business so that you could sell it. Now, on the flip side, what I did with Performance Nut Butter is I grew it so it could be a passive income business so I could make that 6 figures a year from it. But in the long run, it's better if you can really just hit the gas and grow something, sell it. Because now, I mean, if you wanted to, you could very, very easily retire.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I have to clarify. Yeah. I didn't build it to sell. There's like an Elon Musk quote that I love, and it's like building a business to sell maybe isn't an awesome idea or something like that. Yeah. Like I was really building this thing, but I was building it to the moon, right? It's the Dogecoin saying. Yeah. But trying to crank it as big as possible. I really wanted to be a $100 million brand. So I was building it in that fashion for sure. It was foot on the gas, go, go, go. Now, of course, with that, I think, exit opportunities emerge. But, in the early stages, that was going to be my thing forever. And obviously life changes, right? What ended up happening when we sold was, my wife got pregnant and I had the, beautiful opportunity to welcome my daughter into the world. And right at the same time, we got a nice offer on the business and that's kind of how that came to be. But again, I just say building to sell. Sometimes I think that can have like a negative connotation because it's like you're just trying to run it up or whatever.
Fair enough.
Whereas, I really stress the long game and trying to make, really sound decisions and build.
Yeah, I guess you were reinvesting a lot more into the business as opposed to what I did.
Making it a lifestyle thing.
I was making mine a lifestyle thing, really trying to make it lean so I can get profit, which I think is a really admirable thing to do. And it paid off for you because you ended up, I don't think we'll share the exact numbers, but I know a good amount of what he made off the selling of the business, and it's a really good deal. Again, we got to hang out yesterday on a yacht. He's got a very nice place here in Puerto Rico. It paid off for him. By the way, if you haven't followed Rob yet on Instagram, check him out at The Genius CEO. I think you're also on TikTok and a few other platforms.
Yeah, I'm also on TikTok as Robert.Oliver. So didn't get the consistency there, but exploring that platform. So if anyone wants to reach out, I'm there.
Links in the description. And in just a minute, we'll talk about the biggest mistake that Rob made, one that cost him over $25,000 and almost bankrupted the business. But first, I want to talk about what it was like to sell the business and how it was running the business after it was sold. And I know last year in 2020, it's after you exited the business. Technically, you're still on as CEO. I know you did $30 million in revenue, another $4 million in profit. What was it like last year running the business?
Yeah, no, for me, it's really tough because you always hear things about like not wanting to be the smartest person in the room and and, surrounding yourself by people you're learning from and all of that. And I think when you're growing at like a rapid rate, even though I believe those things and have always embraced them, I've always been seeking out people that can teach me stuff and whatnot. You tend to lose connection with that a little bit, right? Because you're growing fast. You have all the answers. Nobody can tell you anything. And that's where I kind of tied back to in year 4, I probably could have been a little more profitable. So it was cool for me in year 5 to see, I always had this vision of building it to 100 million. Like that was my number. I wanted to get to 100 million. And in actuality, I didn't know what it took to get to 100 million. I really didn't. I mean, it was a bootstrap. I was 23, 22 years old when I started it. And yeah, it sounds good, but I didn't understand like the systems and the process and all this stuff that needs to be built in. Really, once you get over like 20 million, I think that's probably the number. Like we had a lot of growing pains at that 30 million number where there was a lot of leakage. Like there was, I don't want to say HR issues, but just like frustration from the, like it was chaos. We were growing fast. So year 5 was really awesome. When the institutional guys came in, and it was all part of the agreement. Like they were going to come in and help, build it to the next stage. Yeah. And seeing the infrastructure, we had a super talented CFO brought in. And, this is a guy that, he came in and he took like an engineer's ground up approach to our PPC and just ripped it apart. And, again, like I always thought I was data driven. I wasn't data driven. Like I really wasn't. So to see it firsthand and then be able to learn from these guys, that was special. That was special.
So let's talk about the biggest mistake you made with this business. What was it, and how can people at home make sure they don't make the same mistake?
Yeah, I think understanding cash flow, and I always tell people starting out, like make sure you understand your books and your general unit economics, how much money you're making, all that, because it's really important. And obviously, see, the thing people don't understand is you can be making money on paper, but be cash negative, meaning not have cash in the bank. So one huge issue we ran into is we were growing so fast and we were trying to launch a lot of these products. We ran into a credit gap where, like Amazon had money for a couple weeks, payroll was coming up, something went off. Like there were just different things. And long story short, I had to loan the money, even though we were, cash flow positive on paper, I had to loan the business money. It was 25 grand. To just cover payroll and, keep the lights on, which is crazy when you're growing fast, but it happens all the time. Businesses grow themselves out of business. Like it really happens.
And for the big secret about performance nut butter, Rob is actually the expert Amazon seller that ended up buying a majority stake in P&B. If you want to learn how I grew my Amazon business to over $1 million in sales, check out this video right here. So click on that video, see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.